So many of us are moved by music, and iconic singer and songwriter Jim Croce made music that's loved by many generations. His son AJ follows in his footsteps. He's bringing his dad's classic songs to the stage at Capitol Theatre, along with his own hits. You can see AJ Croce's Heart of the Eternal Tour on Saturday at the Capitol Theatre. So happy to be joined by you right now, AJ, and your story is one of triumph over tragedy. You really are an inspirational person. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, I want to start learning about your own musical journey. You're so talented. And before learning about your story, I'm thinking, well, he must have learned music from his father, but sadly, he passed when you were 2. So I want to hear about how you first found your own love for music and discovered your own talent.
Well, as a kid, I lost my sight. I was 4 when I was completely blind. And so during that time, I was listening to records and the radio, and I was playing along to everything on the piano, and that was my start. Ray Charles was my gateway drug, and not just because he couldn't see, but because of his music and the soul and the beauty of what he did. Then when I was about 16, 17 years old, I was heard by a woman named Mae Axton, who wrote Heartbreak Hotel for Elvis. And she called up a guy named Cowboy Jack Clement, who had worked with Elvis, as well as Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee and Roy Orbison at Sun Records, and said, you got to hire this kid. And that's what he did. He hired me at 17 to come down here and to Nashville and play and record. And that was my big break. After that, B.B. King heard me play and hired me to go out on the road. And I was out with Ray and Aretha and James Brown and the Nevilles and so many others. I was so fortunate to have people that really encouraged me to do what I do.
What an incredible story and musical career. And I was reading reviews of your shows. I know you didn't start playing your father's music until more recent times. Mm-hmm. And people talk about when you start playing your dad's hits, how as an audience member, you hear Operator, Time in a Bottle, and to see you, his son, Jim Croce's son, playing that song, it's so powerful. I know you lost your father at such a young age. Do you feel connected to your dad in some way when you're performing those songs?
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. I feel a connection. I think it's interesting, the deeper cuts where I can really put my own personality into the song. I think in those moments, that's when I feel most connected, because I think he would want me to forge my own path. And I was so fortunate to grow up with his recordings, of course, the ones you've heard, but there were so many, hundreds of tapes of home recordings of him hanging out with friends and talking and trying new songs, and whether they were his or someone else's. And I got to really know him through that. And I got to know him through that medium. And it was through music that I really got to know him. So yeah, there was a connection, and those songs, of course, connect us, but also the great music that inspired him. His record collection that inspired me to play, was something I grew up with until, it was lost in a fire when I was 15, but it was such a wonderful treasure, and I've rebuilt the collection and expanded on it immensely.
AJ, we want a quick preview of what the show at Capitol Theatre is going to be like. I read a great review. Someone said they went in as a fan of Jim Croce and left a fan of AJ Croce. Fans are loving being introduced to your music, so it's best of both worlds. Give us a quick preview.
Well, it is very energetic. It's a lot of fun. We have legendary musicians on stage with me, the same folks that were on the Croce tour last year that many people saw in your area. And it was just such a fun thing to put this show together, because we have a lot of freedom to move around, and we take requests. We open the request line every night. So if a fan didn't hear what they came to hear, they can shout it out and we'll play it for them.
Love it, AJ. You're nailing it. Can't wait. Capitol Theatre this Saturday at 7:30. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.